What's up, folks? It's your buddy Fatalroadie. Tonight we're going to be doing a Raw recap. We started off with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman coming out to the ring. And just when you thought you escaped getting a recap, Nope. Guess what? Paul Heyman shows what happened to Roman Reigns last week at the hands of Brock Lesnar. I think they were trying to get a little bit of heat on Brock Lesnar for this, but the crowd actually cheered, so they got the opposite from what they wanted. Paul Heyman says that Roman Reigns' suspension has been lifted, but Roman Reigns is not in the building. Paul Heyman then goes on to run down Roman Reigns. He says that Roman Reigns is not man enough to get the beat down from Brock Lesnar. And sure as shit, guess who shows up? Roman Reigns pops up through the crowd. He comes out to ringside with a chair in his hand, and Brock Lesnar levels him. Roman Reigns fires back, hitting Brock Lesnar with a chair. Roman Reigns jumps from the steps to do a Superman punch, but Brock Lesnar catches him. He then gives Roman Reigns a German suplex. He picks up the ring steps and hits him with them. Lesnar then throws the ring steps and a chair into the ring, beats the hell out of him with the chair, and gives him an F5 onto the steps. This was kind of drawn out. I know they were trying to get heat on Brock Lesnar, but it keeps backfiring in WWE's face. They've been trying to push Roman Reigns on us for, I think, 3 years now, and the crowd still hasn't gotten behind it. But we all know that Roman Reigns is going to win at WrestleMania, and hopefully his title reign will be short. Which brings us to our first match, Mickie James versus Nia Jax. Nia Jax is dominant through most of this match. She ragdolls Mickie James all around the ring. Mickie James starts to make a comeback, working on Nia Jax's knee. Nia tries to fight back, but Mickie James continues on her knee, taking her down. Mickie James goes to the top rope. Nia Jax picks her up from the top rope and gives her a Samoa drop for the pin. Right afterwards, Alexa Bliss runs in, hits Nia Jax, and quickly scampers up the ramp. Nia Jax yells at Alexa Bliss, calling her a bitch, but unfortunately the guy in the production department missed that, and right after she says bitch, there's a moment of silence where I guess that was supposed to be where they were going to edit that out. Oops. We then have a waste of time with the Triple H Stephanie McMahon montage on how they're working out for the Kurt Angle Ronda Rousey match. And then we have Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali versus Drew Gulak and TJ Perkins. What? Wow, cruiserweights. Haven't seen them in quite a while, but sadly we're jamming a couple people into tag teams just to fill space. Now I'll admit I barely follow the cruiserweights. I don't watch 205 Live, so I'm not the biggest fan of the cruiserweights. But their absence from Raw only cemented my sentiment, and I really lost interest in this match. But Cedric Alexander got the lumbar check, and Mustafa Ali got the 054 for the pin. Then we get the Three Stooges coming out for an episode of Miz TV, whose guests are Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. Again, didn't we do this like last week? But before all that happens, The Miz says that he's not happy with the Miztourage. He starts to run them down, then Seth Rollins comes out and says, without the Miztourage, The Miz wouldn't be Intercontinental Champion. It's kind of funny. That sounds just like what we heard last week on SmackDown when Randy Orton said almost the same thing to Jinder Mahal. Good going on originality. Then Bo Dallas calls The Miz a phony A-lister who can't fight. Then Finn Balor comes out to instigate everything. The Miz then slaps Bo Dallas, says that he's a better Intercontinental Champion than the Macho Man and Mr. Perfect, which draws the ire of Curtis Axel. The Miz says Miz TV is canceled and tries to leave, but Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel blocks him. They back The Miz up to Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, and then the Miztourage attacks Rollins and Balor. So this was all just a setup. The Club come out and fight off the Miztourage. Finn Balor hits The Miz with the sling blade. Seth Rollins misses with a curb stomp. And after a little bit of playing around with the IC belt, Finn Balor levels Seth Rollins and stands tall holding the Intercontinental title. This whole bit was repetitious squared, being the fact that we've already seen The Miz, Rollins, and Balor, like I said, last week or the week before, not to mention ad nauseum in the weeks coming to this. But we also had repetition from SmackDown in what Randy Orton said to Jinder Mahal. We then have a backstage promo from Kane. Thankfully, there's no words on the screen. Then we have Asuka versus Jamie Frost, a jobber. Guess what? Squash match. The interview that they did with Jamie Frost took longer than the match did itself. If that tells you anything. Then we have a backstage segment with Bayley and Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks tells Bayley that she's a 4-time women's champion, and Bayley responds with, "How long did you keep the belt?" Which started a big fight, so I guess they're finally pulling the trigger on this. Both of them are going to be in the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, so they're not really going to have a blow-off match yet, so that's probably going to be at the next pay-per-view, and potentially I'm going to guess that the Battle Royal is going to hold a little bit of story between the two of them, like I said, leading into the next pay-per-view. Which brings us to our next match, Braun Strowman versus Sheamus. The Bar run down Braun Strowman about who his tag partner is going to be. Braun Strowman says, well, if you beat me, I'll tell you. Braun Strowman beats up Sheamus, as you would expect. Cesaro distracts Strowman, letting Sheamus take over. Strowman tries to fight back. Sheamus dodges a charge by Braun Strowman, and he hits the ring post. But Strowman was able to get back together and gives a power slam to Sheamus for the win. I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to be Strowman's partner. There's a lot of names that are being thrown into it. Elias was one of the biggest ones. And I saw somewhere that someone said that Alexa Bliss was going to be his tag team partner because she was his partner at the Mixed Match Challenge. But we got a week left to find out. It might just be a last minute decision right at WrestleMania. Then we got Kurt Angle coming out. He introduces Ronda Rousey. They talk up their WrestleMania match. Then Absolution comes out. Holy shit. Absolution's not in a match with Bayley or Sasha Banks this week. What the fuck? Paige tells Ronda Rousey that Raw is their show and this is her ring. Paige tries to recruit Rousey, but Ronda says thank you, but no. Paige says you made the wrong choice. Then Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose comes in. Kurt Angle blocks Mandy Rose from hitting Rousey. Ronda Rousey takes out both Rose and Deville, puts Mandy Rose into an armbar, and Kurt Angle has to talk her down to get her to release her. So it looks like after WrestleMania we may have a storyline with Absolution and Ronda Rousey. Please, anything but Bayley and Sasha Banks. We've only seen them fighting 10,897 times since they came to Raw in November. We then had the Club versus the Miztourage. There was a good bit of back and forth with this. The Miztourage took turns working on Carl Anderson. Then finally, Luke Gallows got tagged in, and he started to take over. Carl Anderson gets tagged in and gives the boot of doom for the 2 count. Shortly after Luke Gallows gets tagged in, they do the Magic Killer for the win. We then have Elias in the ring. He announces that he's going to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. And it's kind of funny how they tout that this match will propel somebody's career. My ass! Yeah, because we've seen just a crackerjack job with Mojo Rawley and Baron Corbin as of so far. Anyways, Elias plays the song, runs down the crowd, then Rhino interrupts, which brings us our next match, Rhino versus Elias. This is a glorified squash match. Elias won with the drift away, and then he gave the drift away to Heath Slater. So it's basically that Slater and Rhino are jobbers to the stars. I'm pretty sure they're going to be in the Battle Royal just to fill out the number, and they're going to be quickly eliminated as well. Then we have a waste of time recap with John Cena and his bit with The Undertaker. And the following match, John Cena versus Kane. This is a no DQ match. There was a lot of action between both of them, both in and outside of the ring. While Kane was taking the turnbuckle pad off, John Cena sits up, just like The Undertaker does his throat slash, like The Undertaker, and gives Kane a choke slam. After a bit of back and forth, Kane gets put through a table by John Cena for the pin. Then John Cena gets on the microphone, starts screaming, "Where are you, Taker?" He says, "I know you're not deaf, you're a coward." He then continues to run down The Undertaker, and we end the show with John Cena walking up the ramp, once again, giving the throat slash and mocking The Undertaker once again. I really wasn't crazy about tonight's Raw. I really think this was well below par. They were doing good for a while, but this one they kind of dropped the ball on. Most of the matches weren't really interesting. Some of them seemed like they were filler, and we had way too many talking bits. I think between the Triple H and Stephanie McMahon stuff, the John Cena Undertaker stuff, the Kurt Angle Ronda Rousey stuff, just everything, we probably could have gotten another match in this. Hopefully next week at the Go Home show, they'll pick it up and at least do a better job. But that'll do it for this episode of Raw Recap. I'll be back tomorrow for the SmackDown review. Leave a comment down below what you thought of tonight's SmackDown or what you thought of this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to share and subscribe. I've been Fatalroadie. You've been awesome. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, if it's too loud, you're too old. See ya.